Hey fam, what's going on? This is Jessica Pickens. Welcome to Pickens Realities, our blended family truths podcast. Here's another note to everybody, not just blended families, but traditional families too, right? Like your experiences that you had growing up and as an adult obviously influence how you do things, right? From how you parent, how you single, how you parent, the type of professional you are, et cetera, et cetera. And for me, because I had, when I was younger, due to not having my dad and the insecurities that came along with that, I would do things to get attention from males specifically because I didn't have my dad. And I learned later, again, through a lot of counseling and just through what, like you said earlier, when you come to a point where you want to grow and you want to change and you want to become a better person and you start analyzing what was up with that or what's going on, and you realize that you had, you're trying to, why was I doing that, right? So when I began to see you exhibit some things that, and it doesn't mean that you had the exact same root of the issue, but to me, when I see types of clothes you wanted to wear, let's just start with that, right? When you wanted to wear, I'll never forget what tight fitting stuff, or I think skinny jeans were just coming out then. And because for me, I knew that through retrospectively learning about my past behaviors that I would dress a certain way purposely to get attention. When I saw you want to wear things that I felt may not be appropriate, you were shapely, you know what I mean? But just also trying to recognize things so that you didn't fall into some of the same things that I did. I think I swung the pendulum a bit. I know I did. Too far to the right. And because you were trying to figure out who you were, it was like we were in this tug of war where I was trying to be the right mom, the best mom that you needed at that time. But because we didn't have the right foundation of a love relationship for me to be able, for you to receive it the right way and for us to be able to talk about it so that I could ask you, hey, is this just a style thing, or do you want to wear this because you want to catch attention? You know what I mean? It was just very, very challenging, very difficult. And I felt like also at that time, you it felt to me, my perception was that you really wanted your mom. You didn't want me being the one mothering you during that stage. Your desire, from my perception again, at that time was that you wanted your mom to be the one that was mothering you and helping you go through this phase while you were trying to figure out who you were. Mm-hmm. So, because I think you were 15 or something, because I think your 16th birthday, your mom cut your hair. You were with your mom cut your hair because you went to live with your mom for a while. In those, high school years where we were just really, it felt like a tug of war. It felt like we were kind of battling, because we didn't have the right, love relationship foundation where things could be given and received in a healthy way. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
I feel what you're trying to say. I feel like it was like you all's perception, and then there's my perception.
Absolutely.
Of every time I did something wrong, I'm getting sent to my mama house, and she get mad at me, getting sent back to my dad. How it was just, child. Being the oldest child is one thing, but being the
Who was the oldest? You weren't the oldest child.
I know. I'm saying being the oldest child is one thing, but being the oldest daughter is a whole nother other. And I
you mean because of parenting boys is different than parenting girls? You're talking about that perspective?
No, I'm just saying in general, being the oldest child of a family, it's mm-hmm. one thing that you got to experience and go and grow with your children. I mean, your parents, right? But it's a whole nother thing to be the oldest daughter. I feel like there's a different level of responsibility, a different level of, especially with a mom and a daughter. I don't want you to do the same things I did, so I'm going to be on you 10 times more because
I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I do. I got
the
you.
Things
That's
you may
fair.
experience, you got to
Well, and then the blended family dynamic too. It's not
Right.
like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, there's a real component to that as far as, because I can be very transparent and say, while Gabby and I have our challenges, especially as she's gotten older, I feel, because when she was little, I thought, oh, she's my mini me, she's just like me. And then as she started growing up, I was like, oh God, she's like Ty. Like, she's like, get out, you know. Yeah, you remember your dad used to say, I can't stand people, you know, because people had, but okay, now keep going, because now I understand what you're saying.
So it's just like all of that. And then like you're going through puberty, you're going through, again, experiencing the traumas that I've experienced. Mm-hmm. So having to work through that, not having a therapist in that stage, trying to have friends, trying to have style, and, you know, wear what you want to wear because you think it's cute, it's in, you want to like keep up with the trends, but then that's looked at as, you know, seeking attention. You're like, dang, like, am I really seeking attention? Now I'm going to start seeking attention. Hey, stop it.
She's singing.
Oh, Lord.
Look at her hiding behind Calvin.
But then you start thinking like, am I really seeking attention? Then you start seeking attention. Then
well, but we can decide. I mean, there were some things though that you had been exposed to in different previous settings and contexts that were not appropriate, particularly for a child of your age. And I don't know if you remember this because you actually, and then there were some behaviors that this is just getting to, you know.
Well,
there were things that I was trying to deal with and it's like, and go, okay, how do you navigate when you've identified?
Okay, so boom, we're just going to put it out there. When I was younger, I was sexually assaulted. Not once, but multiple times.
But I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about when we, like, when you, before that, there were, when you were 6, 7, 8, again, this is like therapy for us together now. And when you look at, but that struggle, the root of that struggle is that I knew what I saw. It's okay. Here she comes, y'all. I knew what I saw, and I knew I didn't want for you what I had gone through. So that's the biggest thing, right? The biggest thing was that when I saw behaviors that reminded me of where I was when I was in a place of doing things to get the wrong type of male attention and not being a kid, right? I didn't want you. I wanted you to be a kid. I wanted all of you to enjoy childhood, to be able to enjoy that part of your life, because as you now well know, the adult stuff comes quick enough as it is, right? And so it is, I was concerned that I was seeing you do things that I knew what it was because I did it. I had been there. And so part of that struggle was, you know, I think you felt like I was just trying to, like you said, I wasn't letting you live your best life. You know, I wasn't letting you be lit and figure it out. When what I was trying to do was protect you. I never meant, you know, to hurt you or make you feel any type of way. So when you resisted that, and what I picked up on was again,
I like your nails.
Thank you.
I like
what you wanted at that stage in your life was your mom, you know, was for Jerry to be the only mother component, I feel like. But I also understand why. I understand now, given all of the additional information of what you had been through, which again, I didn't know up until, you know, real recently, all of the things that you had experienced, your traumas. But you knew, if you didn't know, no matter what happened with your mom and dad, you knew your mom loved you.
Yeah.
And so if there was, you know, we didn't come from a base of that, right? Because of how things happened with me and your dad. We developed that within the last,
Couple of years.
Yeah, really 4 or 5 years, honestly. And so I get it. But that was the toughest, the toughest and the biggest struggle was those teenage years, because I really wanted to be what you needed. And I felt like a failure. I felt like I was failing. And so when you're pushing through emotions of feeling rejected, I felt like, you rejected me as a good mom. I felt like I failed you as a good mom. And then I'm still trying to be a good wife and a good mom for the boys and for, Dawson and Gabby. And it was a lot. It was a lot to navigate. And when you're doing all of that and you're working, and I had, my career has always been high pressure, high demand sort of roles. And you got this huge family and all of these things layered on. There were multiple times where it was close to just forget it, except that wasn't the polite word, wasn't always the one that came to mind, right? It's like, forget it, I'm over it, I can't do it, but you keep pressing through. Yeah. So that was your teenage years was the biggest struggle for me and you. But I will say that to bring it back home though, and I note to everyone, which a note to myself, is that I would say it's only because of the love of God in my heart, and only because of the strength of the Holy Spirit was I able to keep putting in the work and doing the things, even when I didn't felt like it. I mean, you think about your senior prom. We were looking for the dress, and we were driving all over, and we were not like in a peachy king rosy place, but I still was like, I'm still going to at least, and I know you would a lot of times, I felt like anyway, you'll have to answer this, but I felt like you would go along and be like, okay, fine. Yes, we're going to drive. Fine. You want to go to St. Louis to look for a dress. And we did that, and we found the dress, and then we had to get all the beads, and then I'm sitting there sewing a gazillion, beads on, and your mom came over, and we're doing it together. And she actually wound up, if you remember, staying at the house that night because we were waiting on you to come home from prom. And
high school was such a traumatic time in my life. Oh my gosh, I keep talking about my life. It sounds like my life has been traumatic, but high school was not it. And that prom situation was not it. And I had the worst time. So yeah, you were right. It was whatever, we'll just go. Whatever, we'll just go. Whatever, we'll just go. After a certain point, I didn't even want to do it anymore. Just because personally, what I was experiencing, with the guy that I was dealing with.
But I mean, I'm glad about it from the perspective of, I feel like had I just quit trying to mother you, I don't know that we would have ever made it to the other side.
I was going to say, but I'm not going to lie, when I do look back, I am appreciative for sure of a lot of the things that you did do, because it was just had you not, I probably would have 5 kids right now. And I probably would be
I used to, for real, I would roll up on Jayla. She was in track. And
that's not even bro.
This?
I had literally right before she pulled up, I had just took my shirt off. It was 90 degrees outside. You know when you in high school, you running track, bro. It's hot as crap outside. We doing conditioning, we doing everything. Dang near doing calisthenics, all type of stuff, man. So I'm hot. We just got done with practice. And I take my shirt off because I am sweating. I'm extremely hot. But then the guys are out there working as well. The guy track team is out there working. Stop. Get out if you're not going to do it. So the guys track team was out there as well. And just coincidentally, as they coming out, I done took my shirt off and mom pulling up.
There was a rule. There was a rule. There was a rule, y'all. So again, I was very mindful of how Jayla dressed on purpose because I didn't want her using sexuality as a way to get attention because it's just unhealthy, right? And so it didn't come across the right way all the time. I admit that. But my intent was to teach you to love yourself and not have to use your body as a mechanism or a way to get attention. That was the intent. It didn't always deliver correctly.
Yeah.
Right? But that literally was the intent. Just so you know. And so from a parental perspective. But
your question.
Okay. And I know we gotta, we want to keep all this together. So as we prepare, and we'll definitely have to, because this is just getting through high school, y'all, right? Like we still want to come back and do a second set in talking about how things transitioned, as you were an adult. But if you could get, one do-over, right? If there's one thing that you could go back and adjust with our relationship, or just say from the blended family component, or either that and or you and I, our specific relationship, what would that do-over be? So if we're trying to help people avoid some of our pitfalls and learn from our mistakes, what do you think that would be? Does that make sense? What I'm asking?
I do. It does make sense. I just turned 27, and in 27 years, I've experienced so much. And if I could give like any 27-year-old girl anything as far as blended family or relationship with your mom or whatever, it would definitely have to be something that I feel like could help us is me actually, it's not even about us, it's about me. Had I probably opened my mouth more
Absolutely.
and not just like, okay, your mom, whatever you say goes. Had I opened my mouth more, but in a respectful manner, for sure.
Understood.
But like,
yeah.
Had I opened my mouth more, because one thing I greatly admire about Gabby is the fact that if she doesn't like something, while yes, there's times where she, be passive aggressive and walk away, but more times than that, she'll say, no, I don't like that. No, I don't want to do that. And sometimes it may be, you may get offended or whatever, but
she voices where she is. Yeah.
The fact that Gabby is so like sure of herself. And I feel like had I been, I don't want to cry.
It's okay. It's all right.
I feel like had I been more sure of myself and like the things that I've experienced and just been more confident in myself, a lot of the tugging and pulling wouldn't have happened. I feel like had I been more outward with my problems and the things I experienced, like I'm an open book now. I feel like because of the fact that like I'm getting older, like honestly at this point I really don't care, and I do like talking to people about the things that I've experienced because I feel like it helps people. But had I been more open with myself and honest with myself, I feel like it would have made things a lot more different, even from the aspect of like palms, for example, me not being able to do palms, like that really hurt my feelings. One, because I felt like but Baldy told me that I could go
to her father for the record.
I could go to all of the practices, all the meetings beforehand, all of I could go, and I could do the what was it called, the pre-tryouts or whatever, where you got to learn the dance and all that. Like, he told me I could go, and then the day of the auditions, I'll never forget. I will never forget this day. I called y'all that morning. I called my dad that morning from the house phone. And I'm like, where are you at? We're at the flea market. Why? What do you mean why? I have palm trials today. What do you mean you have palm trials today? Dad, the thing that I've been doing all week. Then I hear you in the background. And I feel like that's probably, you know what? That's probably what it was. That's probably a lot of the problem that I had with you. Wasn't even the problem that I had with you. It was a problem that I had with him. Because he would agree to me doing certain things.
Without me knowing or without us discussing.
You would come around and it's like, she not doing that? And you're like, I never said she could do that. I'm like, bruh, how you gonna let me go to a whole week's worth of practices? And
okay, so what y'all have to understand, so Palms is the dance team, right? Palms. In the high school. Yeah. Palms. But, it gets a bit sexual, whatever words you want to use. It wasn't like, you see some stuff now where, it be getting a little ratchet. But
it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't.
I feel like the problem, though, with past the Palms is like, dang, but you gonna let me play volleyball and my butthole out? You gonna let me run track and my booty hole out, and I got on a shirt that raised up every time I run? But you know what I'm saying?
But the Palms wasn't even about the outfits. Okay, so
it was about the dancing in front of a crowd of people.
Exactly, and it was about
But guys would literally come to volleyball games to sit and look at butts.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. I understand that, but the intent of the sport was the sport. It wasn't the nature of the sexual dance behind it. So these are real things, y'all. Mm-hmm. Like, as parents, you try to figure out what type of kids you have. What's best for them? I'm
gonna agree to disagree.
You know what I mean?
I feel like another thing also with it was had I been allowed more to be more expressive in who I was artistically, because like me, Dom, and Jayla, like the greatest thing for me was being able to paint our walls however we wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So had I been able to be more expressive in that standpoint. And I feel like that's where the whole like style thing came in, wanting to like dye my hair burgundy,
right?
Like the skin, I agree. So it's like, dang, like, okay, so if I couldn't do Palms, now that's where I'm feeling inadequate. But that's a trauma response and a defense mechanism, I guess, from the things I've experienced. So now everything's building back up again. So now I feel like you're out to get me. And you don't even like me like that.
Right.
Like,
when really what it was exactly what we said. A lack of proper learning how to, one, allow you all to speak your truth and give you a voice as children.
Yeah.
Particularly to be able to say, well, and to learn healthy bi-directional communication instead of doing kind of, for us, the old school Black thing where you're a kid,
right.
But I think we missed it on that.
Yeah.
And you being able to say, well, yeah, I got, had we been able to peel back that layer, had we been able to, one, understand. So to your point, had we known about some of the past traumas that you had experienced that to this day, you just said, like your dad didn't know. He still, you know what I'm saying? You never said anything about some things that we were seeing the manifestation of the result, but we didn't know where it was coming, so then you're trying to figure out where is it coming from. I was trying to protect you because I didn't want you doing things that I knew was not healthy because I had done them and it fully, it turned into, I was sexually active at a very young age because I was seeking attention because of something I didn't have. You had your dad, yes, but you had other stuff that had contributed to where you were emotionally, mentally, right? Yeah. Spiritually, right? When you've been violated and when you've been assaulted, there's consequences to that stuff. And if you don't deal with that, if you don't voice that and if you don't seek help, then it manifests in these other ways. And so that's a fair point. You know what I'm saying? And again, I just have to say, man, I'm so sorry. I take full accountability for we didn't, again, everybody.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is now, but we can help other people. You sometimes you just don't know what you don't know, right? And for us, we were trying to do the best that we could with the information and knowledge that we had at that time.
I feel like I also possibly felt like it wasn't necessarily a safe space because it was always gavel, gavel, gavel. Like, in my perspective, it felt like, man, I don't care what you're talking about. Like, your kid.
Well, that's because
felt.
we didn't.
So being able, when we did have those talks,
right?
It's what's going on. Like, I was the only kid, out of all the kids where it was like when something would happen, like it would be me being talked to with mom, dad, mom, and stepdad. When my mom was married.
That's because you was cutting up, child. You was over there lying on me, saying that I was doing stuff I wasn't doing. So we'd have to have full-blown co-parenting sit-downs to get to the root of what you were saying to your mom.
Get to the root of
when it wasn't the truth.
On.
Eric and Dom were going back saying lies about stuff I was doing.
Eric and Dom didn't have to deal with you on that level.
Agreed.
They didn't.
Agreed.
And it wasn't even, like, hindsight, they weren't even lies. It was just how I was receiving everything. And then me telling my
that's your
mama.
Perspective, and that's fine.
So, but my mama, like, what's going on?
But how it came out was, no, from my perspective, it wasn't the truth.
And I'm not gonna lie, it was a couple of times we were sitting at that table, and I'm like, I didn't even say that. But I had to shut up because regardless, I'm already in trouble, so it is what it is. That's why I say again, being the oldest daughter is a whole nother different level of stuff. Having two sets of parents on top of that was a whole nother other different level of stuff. Experiencing what I've experienced, whole nother other, like, it's just so much. So, like, being a mom now, I said I never make my kid feel how I felt. I would never not give her a safe space, even if I feel like it's gonna break my heart into a million pieces to hear the truth. Yeah. I would rather that
hear the truth so that you can then figure it out.
Right. And I honestly, like, after that situation, when I had started going to therapy after that stuff, I really low-key wish, like, that stayed. Because I know 100% I would be in a completely different situation. I would be in a completely different mindset.
Oh, you're talking about when we did when you were a kid? Mm-hmm. When you were a kid and we had you got it. Oh, I agree.
I feel like
I agree.
Had I did that. But agree. Even in the therapy situation, I felt like I was betrayed because I was told information wouldn't be given back to y'all and it would be between us. Then later, come to find out, certain information was getting back to y'all.
I mean, well, you were itty bitty. There were certain things that had to. You talking about? Anyway.
But regardless, like, that was like a trigger. Like, I can't trust you either.
Okay, that's fair.
So
that's fair. That's fair.
Lots of trust issues, but I'm cool now. I'm good.
And what we want to do is this will definitely be, part one, because we do want to pick up and talk about, kind of how we crossed over and how that came to be. Because the shift was when we moved up here, right, to the Chicago area. And we want to get into that as part two. But to wrap this up, I think that number one, let's reiterate from your perspective. I completely agree and respect the fact that if we can leave folks with a couple of lessons or to-dos, I would definitely say if you are preparing to become a blended family, if you are already a blended family and you are building while blended, right? Like, you're figuring this out as you go, like we did. Please take the time to make sure that you are allowing your children And again, no matter what age, and I'm not saying, I understand there's a lot to navigate when there's a respect thing, right? Kids just can't be talking crazy, talking out the side of your neck to your parents. But you have to find a way to allow your children the space to ask them how they feel and allow them to respond, like to your point, with their truth. And then this is where you got to have that moderator, that mediator, and the professional help to peel back the layers, because there can be things that your kids have experienced and that they are going through that you have no idea about. Absolutely right under your nose. And we had that, and it impacts them, and it impacts how they interact with each other, with their parents, with people at school, teachers. And it is so important that we do not do the thing where you're a kid, sit down and shut up. It's just because I said so. And I get that there are times where you have to go, look, we're not going to argue about this. This is what I said. There's context, right?
Yeah.
But that should not be, this is where people wind up getting hurt. And when you're suppressing feelings because you feel like you said, it's not a safe space. You're not allowed to tell your truth. No one's asking. A lot of what we went through, and I thank God. You put in work to grow, to change. We put in work. I put in work to grow, to change. And so we made it through into the other side. And that's not everybody's story. But if we can help leave you all with one main takeaway right now, out from the dynamic of, bonus mom to daughter, mom to daughter, in a blended family, traditional family, heck, doesn't matter, family. Please make sure that you take the time to give regular opportunity for your kids to ask them what's going on, how you feeling, how do you feel about this change, and particularly when you're looking at becoming a blended family. Figure that stuff out and have some real conversations up front and see what's going on with the emotional health and status of the kids. That's on top of, obviously, the adults. Because a lot of times the adults don't have it together, let alone the kids.
Yeah. And something I will add on to that is kind of like an exercise. So in today's society, social media plays a major part in a lot of kids' life. So being able to, like we've expressed, be that safe space for your child, whether your child be your little cousin, whether your child be, your actual child, or whatever the case may be. Maybe, like she said, once a week sitting down. But in that, if you're someone that you have to know yourself. So if you're someone that knows that you're easily offended, you have
find
to
somebody else.
Right. One, find somebody else, or two, you have to grow as well.
That is correct.
So that's a
That's
place where both of you can grow. So sitting down and writing all of your feelings and what you feel, so that one, you don't lose sight of how you feel and all the extra things, but two, giving each other time to talk. So I'm going to write down what I have. I'm going to talk about my first point. Let me get it all out. Then you can talk about your point, and, so on and so forth, just to make it easier for, the conversation to flow. Outside of that, as an oldest daughter, I would say be open, because the things that you'd be surprised the things that your mom actually understands that she never told you about. Whether that be a stepmom, bonus mom, or biological mother, a birth mother, a godparent, whatever. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know what they've experienced because they never told you or showed you. So just be honest, even if you just got to sit and cry. Be honest.
So communication, foundational principle is that communication and hard work can help heal, restore, grow, and help you get through into the other side. Absolutely mandatory, non-negotiable element of how we, the Pickens family, made it through and one of the core foundational principles of our Pickens realities and our blended family truths, communication. So that's it for today, y'all. We will be coming back with some more just transparent, raw, real information. Y'all done met Izzy today. You're going to keep meeting more. Check us out on YouTube, y'all, at Jessica Pickens Realities on YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm missing one. I don't even remember. It's okay.
No, that was
No, that's it. That's everything. That's the 4. And we're going to keep coming back and sharing as we want to bless you all and want to be able to help other folks in blended families, but also just families in general. Our goal here is how can we play a role in helping families stay together as we learn and grow together. Thank you all. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.